Hey guys, it's the Gundam Boy, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Purifier, one of my favorite plasma weapons. However, if you knew this weapon when it first released with Polar Patriots, nobody would say that this was their favorite weapon at all. Because with the release of Polar Patriots, the weapon could only fire in a charged state, which made it very, very weird to use. And it was light pen at the time, which was even stranger for plasma-based weapons now. But it wasn't until patch 1.001.104 that we actually got the Purifier that we know now. So this was after the 60-day plan patch, by the way. That's a long time to go. But with that fun fact out of the way, let's get straight into it. So, if you want to get this weapon for yourself, you can get it in the Polar Patriots warp on, specifically on the last page. Taking a look at its stats, we can see it has 500 damage, a capacity of 15, 16 recoil, and 1000 fire rate. It also has medium armor pen, it's a charge up, and it's explosive. Looking a little closer, we can actually see the real damage stats for an uncharged shot is actually around 175, whereas the charged shot is split between the explosion and the projectile damage, being 500. So don't let that flat 500 damage make you think that every uncharged shot's doing that, because it's not. That's just its potential damage. I don't know why they didn't put like a scale between the damages, but We have two options between the optics and an underbarrel. We got the tube red dot, we got the reflex sight, we got a holographic sight, we got the reflex sight MK2, and an iron sight, which is the only one that changes the ergonomics. And then we have the underbarrel, which will do most of your changes for your weapon. Like the laser sight with the flashlight, we have the vertical foregrip, an angled foregrip, and then you have both flashlight and a laser pointer variant of the others. And I have to say, I think it's kind of funny that we have a vertical foregrip, because yes, while it does affect your recoil, making it a way more stable shot, I wouldn't say this is the most effective way to use this gun, because if you straight dump it, you can get at least 2,625 damage. But you can get this damage out at a crazy amount of speed, as if you just button mash the shit out of it, you can make it fire, which can dump comically fast if you got that finger game. But if you were to charge shot all 15 rounds, you would get around 7,500 damage, which is comically slow for trying to get that damage out, as you have to charge each shot up and fire it over and over. And no, this doesn't mean you have to fire it a specific way, it's just that you have different utility options between these two modes. Because with the charge shot, you can take out groups of enemies with no problem, or you can focus bigger chaff enemies and blast them with more focused damage. But the uncharged bolt is safer to use in close combat, otherwise you're eating 500 damage straight to the face, because the blast range on this weapon is pretty wide in its charged mode. While it doesn't hit here, you can see it pops the barrel right there. So keep in mind that 3 meter outer radius does fuck. And it's funny because it has a bigger inner radius than the Plasma Punisher. And for the overall loadout that I personally use with this weapon is the iron sights and the angled foregrip. I prefer the ergonomics over the recoil control because this gun's charge up mode, by the time it fires up for another round, has already recovered from any recoil. So let's finally take a look at how it fares on every front. Starting off with the bot front, against something like a trooper, it should be a one tap, especially when you're using it in its uncharged mode. But there are instances of automaton troopers being able to survive one shot because it hit something like their arm. Firing 2 charged shots though should be able to take down something like a berserker, and since they pack so closely together, it means you can abuse your splash damage to hit everyone. And I'm trying to show off a headshot here, but for some reason I can only do it when I'm not trying. But you can totally blast them right in the face. It's just, I have bad aim. And if you're going up against something like a Scout Strider, you can shoot him in the cock 4 times and watch him disassemble himself. Or you can aim at the rockets and you can Purifier also makes a great counter against some damn automatons hiding behind their turrets, as one shot is all it takes to slap them smaller guys. Let's talk about the Devastators, because this gun absolutely bullies them, because it does take only 2 shots to knock them out. So in situations where these clankers clank together, it makes it really easy to follow up with a big shot to knock them down, because that blast range is wide, even being a direct counter to things like heavy devs. That shield no longer protects them, but rather provides a perfect angle for you to bank a shot right through them. Again, you could try and go for a headshot, but I just not feeling it right now. This makes it a very interesting counter against the Fergalicious dev, because stat-wise it's just a heavy dev with a shotgun. And that giant infinite shield doesn't block the damage going through it, which makes it a perfect counter. I just can't get footage because they're hiding. But it's a perfect screw you heavy dev and your infinite shield, why is this a thing? You could fire in its uncharged state, but this is just a perfect moment to blast all of them. And if you're trying to give some Hulk some back shots, it should take it down in at least 3 shots. And if it's going up against a gunship, it takes it down in 2 full charges. But let's move on over to the bug front. Going up against the most common enemy, the Warrior, you can find that this gun will kill in 2 shots in uncharged and in 1 shot with the charge mode. And with that big blast radius, it means you'll hit multiple Warriors at a time. But what about our favorite little bouncy boy, the Hunter? I fucking hate you! And of course, yes, they die in 1 shot, but you should keep in mind, just like the bots, if you hit them in their legs specifically, they will actually tank that shot, making you need to spend another round on a stinky little bug like them. Even if you can't hit them in the face, all you need to do is shoot them in that back. Not that they're a big threat, but it is good to know, at least if you're going to try fire an uncharged shot at something like a hunter. Ah yes, another serving of phasing through the wall, please. Going up against the Hive Guard specifically in a one-on-one, it takes around 4 shots to kill him to the face if you're not firing it in its charged mode. But if you are going to use it in its full charge, it only takes 2 shots to kill him. Very common number we're seeing today. You should also keep in mind while using it on the bug front, they tend to whip around a lot more when the explosion goes off, so they might make some space between each other. I can only assume it happened like this because the Hive Guard that I was shooting was hit in the face, making him not really bounce around. Oh yeah, and it can one-shot a Shrieger. It also can 2-shot things like Bile Spewers if you're using it in its full charge mode, blowing its ass out even though you weren't aiming near it. So, gross. But because of the nature of this weapon being explosive means you can deal with Bile Spewer hordes all day. And if you know anything about me, I hate Bile Spewers. Baller! So if you have a guy with a Purifier on your team, be happy. And I can confirm that it takes at least 3 charged shots to kill something like a Brood Commander. When it goes up against something like an Impaler, if you're shooting at its forehead, it takes at least 4 shots to kill him. However, you do run the risk of getting your ass absolutely beat, because if you don't charge up and fire in time, you could get walloped by the tentacle. Or you could do it the badass way and throw a load down his throat. That's a dumb joke, I hate that. Don't worry, Gundam Boy, we'll put that in your sense of humor. Taking a quick dip on our favorite Hell planet, it is also capable of 2-shotting things like Predator Stalkers. As long as you aim for the general part of their body, you should be able to kill them with no problem. However, paired with a slow charge-up time and the chance of being flanked by these guys, you might want to keep in mind that this weapon's slow wind-up might get you grabbed. Oh, and yeah, the Predator Hunters are practically the same, so they die. And it looks like I overstayed my welcome, because now the Dragon Roach is here to come and tickle me. Oh god, oh god. And just before we go to the Illuminate, remember where you park your mech. And let me just say, now, while the Illuminate is one of the most hated factions in Helldivers, this gun makes them comically easy.
Oh, but Gundam Boy, you're just killing voteless!
Well, yeah, the most common enemy you'll come across. Like, you can slay groups and hordes of voteless with just this weapon. And the only thing that's stopping me from killing more is the fact that I'm attacking them at the same level. And sure, it takes like 2 shots in the uncharged state to kill them, but it doesn't change the fact that there's usually 5 or more voteless around the corner, which means you're probably going to be blowing them up with a big charge anyways. And it doesn't matter if they're light, medium, or the heavy voteless, because this gun does 500 damage. And with the explosion damage doing 300 of that damage, it's going to be a guaranteed kill. If you keep getting swarmed, you're going to flip for this gun. And going up against the most annoying enemy in the game, the Overseers. They're not even safe, as it takes only 2 shots to kill them. Goes for the elevated Overseers too. It doesn't even matter where you aim on this part of their body, as long as it hits them, it's game over. Making the Purifier one of the strongest counter Overseer weapons out there in the market. It's not even as heavy as weapons like Jar Dominator or the Eruptor. And while it's alright at killing a flesh mob, I mean, not a lot of weapons are great at killing them anyways, the Purifier does a pretty good job considering the fact that it only kicks it down in 8 shots, which doesn't make sense if you look at it from the math standpoint. Even in my second test, it still took around 8 shots to kill this guy. But you have to keep in mind, the Purifier has a pretty big explosion radius. So even though it looks like you're just hitting one spot of the flesh mob, you're actually hitting multiple parts of the body, doing extra damage. Which all makes sense when you realize when I freeze the frame like this, and you see that he gets engulfed by 3 meters of pure plasma. And while I wouldn't recommend it to take down things like harvesters, you can still use the plasma shot to knock this guy around, which I actually learned during one of my live streams right before I was about to get arced. Oh, don't you think about it. But what do you guys personally think about the Purifier? I think it's pretty damn good. I mean, it's terrible. It's bad.